Welcome back. The House of Representatives also considered some motions during the week. Let's take a few of these motions and happenings in the House. It was defections galore in the House of Representatives this week as more lawmakers announced their defections from their former parties as they try to ensure their return to the House of Representatives. The two major parties in the country lost lawmakers in the exercise. 5 lawmakers of the All Progressives Congress from Ogun State defected to the Social Democratic Party. In letters addressed to Speaker Aminu Tambuwal and read at plenary, the 5 lawmakers said their defection to the SDP followed the crisis in the Ogun State chapter of the party. Similarly, 5 members of the People's Democratic Party formally announced their defection to the APC, while another PDP lawmaker announced her defection to the People's Democratic Movement. During the week, the House considered a motion calling on the Chief of Naval Staff to name oil companies that are aiding oil theft in the country.
The House notes that on the 3rd of September 2014, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Usman Jibril, at a meeting with oil companies operating in the country, threatened to expose some international oil companies which are allegedly aiding and abetting oil theft in the nation's coastal waters. The House is disturbed that the international oil companies are not giving the much desired cooperation to the Nigerian Navy. And this is most disturbing, as the Chief of Naval Staff has also accused some of those oil companies of creating an enabling environment that aids oil bunkering, crude oil theft, and piracy by leaving their oil wells open for years rather than having them sealed, an action that is clearly against all known international best practices. The House is concerned that for the Chief of Naval Staff to have aired his frustration in such a manner calls for serious concern from all, particularly with the nature of information at his disposal.
The motion was approved and referred to the committees on petroleum upstream, petroleum downstream, and justice for further legislative work. Another motion that was considered sought to stop the proposed increase in electricity tariff in the country.
Aware of the electric power supply by respective power companies in Nigeria, concerned that despite the persistent electric power supply in the country, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NAREC, has increased electricity tariff for more than 2 times. Disturbed that no corresponding result from previous increase in electricity tariff, NAREC planned to increase yet another electricity tariff with effect from December 2014.
Order.
Alarmed by the projected estimate to generate 4,000 megawatts in 2008, to 6,000 in 2009, to 10,000 in 2010, to 16,000 in 2011, which ended up in fiasco. Acknowledge the role of the National Assembly as the watchdog over executive waste of government resources. Further concerned that if the proposed increase in the electricity tariff is not stopped, its multiple effects on the economy cannot be quantified.
The House passed a resolution urging the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to halt its plan to increase electricity tariff across the country. The House also mandated its Committee on Power to investigate the rationale behind the persistent increase in electricity tariff and report back to the chamber in 2 weeks. The Senate also asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to employ all administrative means possible to ensure that internally displaced persons exercise their rights to vote in the 2015 general elections. Now, this was one of the key motions considered by the Senate during the week.
It's bad enough that these Nigerians have become refugees in their own country, but they may not be able to exercise their right to vote in the upcoming general elections. Such is the plight of thousands of internally displaced persons scattered across Nigeria and neighboring countries. The mayhem caused by Boko Haram and other terrorist groups have led these and many other Nigerians to seek solace in camps such as these. A federal lawmaker drew the attention of the Senate to the possible disenfranchisement of internally displaced persons.
Elections are as important as means which IDPs can have a say in their political, economic and social decisions affecting their life. As citizens of the country in which they are uprooted, IDPs are entitled to vote and participate in public affairs. Disenfranchisement of IDPs call into doubt the legitimacy of the forthcoming election. Let us borrow example from Afghanistan, Syria, Cuba, who have all incorporated IDPs into their electoral system.
Although some lawmakers supported the call for internally displaced persons to exercise their right to vote, they rejected the amendment of the Electoral Act.
The permanent voters cards they have and the database and all other logistics of voting can be adapted so that you can vote where you are located. And of course, there is also going to be the problem of INEC will have to find out how to handle this. It does not need a law to ask them to establish polling units for internally displaced persons. Therefore, I am not opposing the establishment of polling units for internally displaced persons, but I'm saying that there is no need to make a law because the Act as it is has authorized and given them the discretion so to.
I do not think this particular lawmaking is going to cure what we are anticipating. This thing has to be an administrative mechanism, and that it should be a directive of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria directing INEC to, with immediate effect, set up these polling units in those displaced areas, and the committee will make sure that before election, these centers have polling units, rather than this law.
The Senate consequently asked INEC to make use of every administrative means possible to ensure that internally displaced persons exercise their rights to vote in the 2015 general elections.
I'm sure you remember how lawmakers were locked out of the National Assembly some time back and how some of them had to jump over the fence to get into the complex. Well, the Senate set up an ad hoc committee to investigate that incident. The committee had its first public sitting during the week.
It's been nearly 1 month since the police stormed the National Assembly and fired tear gas at federal lawmakers. When the pictures and visuals of the showdown between the police and lawmakers hit the airwaves, the response from the public was that of shock, disbelief, anger, and even amusement. The Senate was definitely not amused. Many lawmakers condemned what they termed a breach of security, privilege, and sanctity of the National Assembly.
What happened last week at the National Assembly is a coup attempt by the Nigerian police against the parliament.
The Senate then set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the security breach in the National Assembly. The first day of the hearing went off to a dramatic start when the divisional police officer attached to the complex, Mr. James Idachaba, accused the security details attached to the Senate President David Mark of being responsible for throwing the tear gas canister at federal lawmakers.
Here, you have put in writing that tear gas might have been exploded by one of Senate President's security personnel. Is that what you have put in writing?
Well, very well, sir. As a security officer and a senior police officer, I know at a point, because I saw when on a video clips, television clips, when the chemical mess was being applied. Well, it was on public television. I never recorded anything. I couldn't have. It is on public, like you saw in my. It is reflected there in my write-up. I was not on the ground, but I saw it via televised clips.
The divisional police officer also told the committee that the instructions to close the gates of the National Assembly was based on a directive received from the Federal Capital Territory Command. The committee subsequently summoned the FCT Police Commissioner, Wilson Inalegu, to appear before it and explain who gave him the directive to shut the gates of the National Assembly to lawmakers. However, in a quick reaction, the Special Advisor on Media and Publications to the President of the Senate, Mr. Kola Olobodinyo, said the security details attached to the Senate President did not and could not have attacked the person of the Speaker with tear gas. In the statement, the SA Media said reports credited to Mr. Idachaba that security details of Senator Mark attacked Speaker Tambuwal with tear gas is absolute falsehood, dubious, horrible and embarrassing. It further stated that the events of November 20th, 2014 are very fresh and any attempt to rewrite or misrepresent them will not stand. The committee is expected to continue sitting on resumption of the National Assembly after the Christmas and New Year holidays.
A lot of activities there, not forgetting that the National Assembly has received the amended constitution from the state houses of assembly. What are your views on the positions adopted by the lawmakers? Well, you can send in your views and comments to our email address, thegavel@channelstv.com. Our Twitter account is twitter.com/GavelAbuja. And our Facebook page, facebook.com/GavelAbuja. We look forward to hearing from you. So there you have it, the week at the National Assembly. Till we meet again, I'm Lanre Lasisi.